Hello! I recently acquired this guitar, which is a Maverick F1. I picked this up second hand for about £180, and this thing is probably about 10 years old, and surprisingly it is in incredibly good condition. There are practically no marks and scrapes on it, and yeah, it's looking good. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just stringing it and setting it up and checking it over, and I figured I would film my progress and what I'm doing and maybe teach you a thing or two in the process. So here we go. So the first step, which I've already done, is removing the strings and just cleaning it and checking it for any marks and knocks and dinks and things, which this has practically none, which is remarkable to say. It's at least a 10-year-old guitar, and yeah, it's brilliant. I like it. So, one thing I have noticed is the frets are slightly pitted, slightly worn, and it looks like it's had a bit of a whack with the strings on at some point, because there are, which I'm not going to be able to zoom in and show you, I don't think. Nope, definitely not. That's not going to work. Are slightly grooved, because if you hit a guitar with the strings on it, the strings are going to press into the frets, and I'm just going to make like little wiggly dents with the windings on the strings. Looks like it's had a couple of those. So at some point, yeah, I'm going to do a full fret dress and recrowning and polishing and things, but I'm not going to do that today. So for now, I'm just going to string it and show you how to do action and intonation and adjust the neck and things if need be. So strings I like to use are Elixir strings. These are Elixir NanoWebs 10 to 46s. These are my preferred strings. The Elixirs in general are. A set of 10s are standard for most of my guitars, although some I like to put 11s on so they can handle lower tunings and things like that. But Elixir 10s are what I'm going to put on this. So, step one, to remove the string from the package. Now this guitar is loaded through the back. So what I do is I lean the guitar up like this. You can see that. And then thread the string through its relevant hole and pull it through. There you go. Now I like to do all the strings like this. Just take your time doing it, you don't want to rush pushing them through. Okay, so check that they're all going through, which they are, which is good, and then just lay them to one side. Okay, they'll flap around a lot, but that's fine. Okay, so next we need to move up here. So next step, I always go thickest string to thinnest string, so up the machine heads like that. Okay, so this is the important part. You want to line up the hole, so you don't want it to be aiming sideways, nice and straight, so you can do that. Okay, now you push the string through, push the string all the way through and pull it so it's relatively taut, and then a good measure is a couple of fingers worth, it's roughly an inch or so, and push the string back. Okay, so you pull it all the way through, about that much, crimp it, push it back, and then bend it around like that. Okay, so what you end up with is a floppy bit of string, and it's kind of hooked on like that, so it holds it in place. Okay, and then the restringer's tool. This thing is a lifesaver. Basically, instead of getting your fingers in and doing this, which takes a long time, you grab this thing and go around like that. Okay, it just saves a lot of time and energy. So this next part is very important. As you're winding the string round, you want to make sure it winds under itself each time. So as you're winding round and round and round and round, you're going downwards. Okay, if you go upwards, there's potential for it to come off the top if you go too far. And if you go up and down and mishmash and it crosses over, you're going to have all sorts of tuning issues. So the way I get around this is index finger presses down, and then middle finger or thumb pulls up on this bit. If you can see that, you should be able to see that. There you go. So the back end of the string here is nice and tight, pull it quite tight, and down here is aiming downwards. Alright, that's important because as we go through, I'm going to go slowly with my fingers for now, as we wind round, keep it pressed down. There you go, see this bit coming round now. There you go, it should, with your finger there, just aim it to go under itself each time. So as you go around, as it comes back round, there you go, it's going to go under. I'm going to spin this round a bit, get some light at the appropriate angle. That's a bit more like it. Okay, yes, so if you can see just here, GoPros aren't very good at focusing. There you go. It's winding top and then under itself. And if we were to do a few more winds, which we don't want to do, it would go under again and under again and under again. Okay. So with the thicker strings, 1.5 round is just about perfect, just so it gives it some nice grip. And there we go. So with this extra bit dangling around here, tie it round so it doesn't just poke you in the eye as you do in the others, and bend it so it gets out of the way. And there we go, string 1 done. Okay, I'm going to pull back a bit so I can get my hand in, and I'm going to do the next string. So let's follow this one through again. Push it or pull it all the way through so it's relatively taut. 2 fingers worth. Pinch it, push it back, and crimp it round. So it's held on there, and you've got a bit of flop here. Press down with your index finger there and pull up with a middle finger or thumb behind it. So this back end needs to be tight and this end needs to be pressed down. And then again, I'll do this one slowly before I do the rest. You get in and you go round, just keep bending that out of the way, that flaps around a lot. You go round, 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 round. There we go, and as it comes round, make sure you are winding down underneath the string each time. That's it, don't do it too tight. Again, that's pretty much perfectly 1.5 round. And that's it, and again, same deal, you can see that it's winding under itself there, and down, and down, and down. Okay, there you go. So, I'm going to do the rest. See what I mean? String winders are much better. Now as you get onto the thinner strings, you probably want to go around a bit more. So I'm going around twice on this one. Again, 1, 2 full winds, and again winding down under itself each time. Don't tighten it too much. Don't tune it up just yet. And then your thinner strings still, the ones that your plain strings that aren't wound, you want to go around at least 2 times just to give them a bit of extra grip. So when you get to your thinner strings, maybe 3 fingers worth, push it back so you've got a bit more to wind around. Again, same deal, finger down, pull up. Go again, that's probably 2.5 winds round, which is good. Plenty of grip on that. And your next one, pull it all the way through, maybe 3 fingers and a bit, 1.5-ish. Again, finger down, pull up. Bend that round. And then the last one. Beautiful. Okay, so that is strings on the guitar. So again, if you can see, each one, your thick string, round, wound at least once, 1.5. Same for your next one. A couple of times for this one, 2.5. Probably done 3 on that, and I've probably done 4 on that. But again, each one is really nice and neat and perfectly wound round under itself. So basically, as you are tuning up and as you are playing, it doesn't pull and it won't suddenly pop out of tune, and the strings don't kind of pull and waggle and stuff like that. So that is stringing the guitar. That is part one. And with these excess bits, generally just keep them on for a bit, just in case there is any pulling or anything. It gives a bit of extra movement room for when you're tuning up and playing it for a bit until they've bedded in. Okay, so next up is tuning the guitar, which you can do to a tuner. I'm going to do it by ear. It's about right, doesn't have to be perfectly accurate. As you do each string, when it's up to pitch, if you just give it a waggle, you can pull relatively hard, not too hard. Do this, and that just makes sure it pulls it and it's nice and taut up this end. There you go, that's an E. Same deal with your B. So we're pretty much in tune, doesn't have to be perfect. It just helps get the tension up into the neck, and it should pull the neck either straight, or if you're going from a lower gauge to a higher gauge, I think it had 9s on it before, that's what I took off, and these are 10s. What it will probably do is pull the neck up a bit, so you'll end up with a slight bow in the neck, which I am going to give it a minute to settle, and then I will check that. Okay, so we are in tune. It's been a few minutes and the neck has settled. So now the strings aren't going to pull anymore, or shouldn't pull much anymore, so I can get rid of these bits. So a good way of doing it is you can just get some snippers and snip, 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 snip as close to there as you can get, but that leaves little bits sticking out, little spiky things, which I have no end of little scars and things on my hands from years of restringing, where they just stab you and it really hurts on the fingertips. So what we can do is, if you just bend the string back and forth like that, it'll eventually snap off. Okay, and that leaves a lot less sticking out. So now what we've got here is get this bit off. There you go. So now that's broken off really close to the hole, and because I've done such a nice neat job of stringing it, there should be plenty of grip and it won't pull out. You have to be careful with some of the thinner strings, but on the thicker wound strings it gives just lots and lots of grip, so you can break it off right up close to the hole. So let's do the same with this one. Just bend it right that way and lift that way and that way and that way and that way, and as it comes off, there you go, next one's off, and again no little spiky bit to poke your fingers on to stick out. And this one, there we go. Ooh, big bit on that one, there we go, that's it. And then your thinner ones you can do the same thing with, but just make sure you've done a good solid job of winding it on the tuner. Come on, this one's bent in a funny way. Sometimes they don't want to have it. There we go, that's that one. And then your last one. Yeah, the thinner ones are much harder to do. There we go. That's it. So you end up with nice neat string windings, and then nice neat bits with no little spiky bits that are going to stab your fingers. Of course that's made it go out of tune again, so we tune once more. Okay, we're just about there. So stringing and checking is complete. Next up, what I'm going to do, put this back up here, is check the neck. That's bent down too much. There we go. Let's check the neck. So if you haven't got the proper measuring tools, like this, which is a notched straight edge, get this back up here, look. Basically this is a perfectly as flat as you can possibly get it edge, which is notched so it fits on the fretboard over the frets. Ooh, that's a big scale length. There you go. Okay, which in this instance, There you go, that way. You can put on the fretboard, and then you can have a look underneath, and because this is perfectly flat, there will be little gaps if the neck is bowed in the middle, or there will be gaps on the top and the bottom if the neck is humped. If you haven't got one of these, probably the best you can do is just to do it by eye. So if you just very, very carefully look down the neck and try and be as kind of thorough and even as you can with this, you should just see a very slight bow in this neck, which I can do by eye, but these little things, big heavy things, are wonderful because you get such an accurate sort of measurement on it. So you have a look down, see I can see there's a little gap, so this neck is slightly bowed. So if you have a bowed neck, we need some Allen keys. So somewhere on your guitar, either down here or up here, most electrics are up here, in the head, you have a hole. Some guitars have a cover, so you want to take the cover off and you will reveal that hole. Okay, quite hard to see. There you go. So in there is a truss rod. So what a truss rod is basically an adjustable metal bar that goes down the middle of the neck that you can tighten and loosen, and it will bend this way and that way. Some only go one way, but most of them these days go two ways, which just bends the neck. So if the strings are pulling up too much, you loosen the truss rod or tighten the truss rod and it'll straighten it out, okay, to get a nice straight neck, which is what I'm going to do now. So you need a set of Allen keys. Generally when you buy a guitar, particularly new, you will get the relevant Allen keys for it. This thing is not staying on here very well. There we go. But if not, a good set, depending where a guitar is made, a lot of Fender guitars tend to use imperial measurements, so you'll have like an 1/8 or again 5/64 or 3/16 or whatever. Or your metrics, which are just in millimeters. So again, 2, 2.5, 3, 4, and what have you. So just make sure you get the right size, because if you don't use quite the right size, it can just wear away the hole where it grips, and you'll end up just not being able to adjust it at all, and then you're kind of screwed, which isn't good. So this one, I believe, is going to be a metric one, and it looks. I'm going to try 3. There you go, perfect. Look like a 3, it's a 3. So the neck is slightly bowed, so I'm going to tighten it just a little bit. Let me move this closer. There you go, I'll put that here again. Perfect. You can tighten it just a little bit, again, a very small turn, like less than a quarter turn. I've gone from sort of there to there, a little tiny bit. And then measure the neck again. So with your tool or just by eye, and that's not moved much at all yet. So we do it again. Another tiny little turn. You don't want to turn it too much, otherwise you'll bow it or bend it the other way. Let's get in there. Still not quite. Another tiny little turn. Make sure that goes in properly. There you go. There you go. And we go on like this. And there we go. Looking at that, that looks just about perfect. The general rule I follow, most truss rods loosen for hump. If the neck is hump, you want to loosen it, which is left, and turn it to the right to tighten it for a bowed neck. So loosen for hump, tighten for bow. That works for pretty much everything, or it has for me anyway, all of my guitars. That seems to work for. Okay, so now I'm just going to play it for a bit and see how it feels.